We're live. Welcome to Upright Live. Today is our fifth and final class in October. If you are joining us live on YouTube, this is Upright Live. What we do at Upright Live is every month we have a new program we go through together, and we work on basically making your body feel better. For those of you who are in Upright Live, today we are streaming live to YouTube. We are today going to actually work on some new stuff that we haven't worked on yet. So if you are currently a member of Upright Live, you're getting some new stuff today, a peek into what we're doing next month. Cool? So continuing with the topic we've been talking about regularly this last month of having a routine, what I want to talk about today is the importance of having a routine of moving your spine in healthy ways on a regular basis, hopefully every single day. The reason this came up is yesterday I saw a friend that I hadn't seen in a while, and he was moving really, really slow, holding the old, you know, like looks like he needs a cane type of walk. And he's a young guy, and I asked him what's going on, and he says, you know, I was at the airport, I was carrying like 3 different bags, and next thing I knew, I heard a pop, and I'm limping. I fall to the ground, my back gives out, and this got me thinking, like, man, like how is this so common that young people who you know seemingly are healthy, going about their lives, can just drop in the middle of an airport? And so, you know, as Americans, I think the number, I looked it up yesterday, I can't remember exactly what it is, but a vast majority of Americans will deal with serious back pain in their lives. So how can we combat this? I think a very simple way is to move your spine in healthy ways on a regular basis. There are many different things that are healthy for your spine. We can talk about ways to strengthen the muscles around your spine. We can talk about ways to maybe stretch and loosen your spine in ways that it's not getting as often as it should. Okay? So today, what we're going to give you is a routine that you can do to both strengthen the core muscles the right way and to get some nutritious movement that your body's probably not getting too often that will keep your spine healthy. So we have a follow along routine that we're going to play on the screen for you. You can follow along with it, or you know, you can play this video back later at another time. If you don't want to follow along right now, that's totally fine. All you'll need for the routine is something to hang from and something to sit on potentially, which you don't really even need to sit down for this. You could do it standing. If you do not have something to hang from right now, or potentially you're at home and you don't have a pull-up bar anyways, everyone's at home, and most of us aren't going back to the gym yet. So if you don't have anything to hang from, let me show you a quick modification right now. So one of the exercises we're doing is something hanging where you're lifting the knees and then potentially lifting both at the same time. And the idea is that we learn how to use the deep core muscles, not just this top layer of muscle here, but the actual sides and then the inside layers of the core muscles to work in unison with the hip flexors. A lot of times back pain, stiff back pain, can come from these two big muscle groups not playing nice together. So the intention of this exercise is to get them to work together. Here's what we're gonna do if you don't have a pull-up bar. You're gonna use a wall. You'll lean against it, just as if you were doing, like, say, a plank, like a wall plank here. okay? And really what I'm after is boom, tucking your tailbone. You want to get some posterior tilt, or just think about rounding your lower back here. So no arching of the low back. Rounding of the low back, that's what turns on all those deep muscles. And then you'll just do some simple marching. Lift the knee as high as you can, hold for a couple seconds, go down and switch, okay? For added benefit, you can squeeze the glute on the stance leg and even get up on the toe. Bam, now I'm not only working my core and my hip flexor, but also the glute on the stance leg. So if you don't have a bar, that's what I want you to do. If you do have a bar, I really want you to try the hanging knee tuck. It may seem difficult, but the advantage is now we're not only working on strengthening the core, hip flexors, all that stuff, but now we're also working on opening the shoulder, opening up that thoracic spine, the upper part of the spine that sometimes we forget about when we're thinking about back pain, right? The upper spine matters too. So give that a try. The other motions should be pretty self-explanatory. Follow along, enjoy. We'll see you on the other side. Oh, and our audio got a bit messed up on this first part, so I'll talk you through it. So can they hear anything of that right now? Cool. Okay, so the audio is a bit messed up. I'm gonna talk you through this. So you wanna go relaxed in the shoulder when you're hanging. I want you to really focus on tucking your tailbone and lifting that knee as high as you can, squeezing into your top position. Don't let the knee drift out to the side. I want that knee coming straight up, and keep your back nice and tucked. None of the archy back. And you could potentially go both legs same time. This is the top level of this exercise for now. You should feel both the core muscles and the hip flexor muscles. And get back on it. Remember, keep that shoulder relaxed. All right, that was 60. Nice work. Next up, we're gonna sit down. You can also do this one standing. You don't have to do it seated. I prefer to do it seated because it keeps your hips stacked. Sit down, we're doing some lateral flexion. Clasp the hands overhead. And 60 seconds, let's go. Reach to one side, spend as long as you need in that position, and then go to the other side. We're trying to make the opening angle long, so really reach that shoulder, open the ribs, push the ribs out to the side. And you should feel a big stretch along the lat, maybe the ribs, maybe even as low as down in the side here, the obliques or the QL, these lower parts of the core. And always remember, you should be able to take a big deep breath. If you can't, you've gone too far. You shouldn't be breathing sharp and quick like that. And relax, take a break, move around for a sec. Nice. Hopefully you're feeling nice and warm for this last one. We're going to our standing, and you can go narrow stance or wide stance. Wide stance is gonna get the hips open a little bit as well. Rotational arm swings. 60 seconds. Ready? Let's go. Start out nice and soft. Doesn't take much. Try to look behind you, relax the arms, let them swing, let them pull you into a deeper rotation. As you start to feel a little more open, you can start to open it up a little bit more. make sure you can breathe. Don't go into any positions that you lose the ability to take a big, deep belly breath. Stand up tall. Also play with a little bit of flexion, maybe round the back a little bit, see how that feels. You could even potentially try to look up at the sky. All of these might feel just different enough to where they're worth it. And take a break. Nice work. If you do another round, hit that replay button. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. So a bit of context there. So we, for UprightLIVE, make these follow-along routines that you can just plug and play with. If you join UprightLIVE, you also get a full program with exercise tutorials. So each of those exercises we went through has its own tutorial that you can click on, and it actually shows all the differing levels so that you can get you can dial in exactly what you're doing, exactly what you should be feeling, exactly what you should be focusing on each exercise. Because at Upright Health, our goal is to get people moving well first. Move well first, then move a lot. Cool? So getting the proper patterning and the proper mental images is all really important. It's not just about doing the right exercises, it's about executing. Cool? So we had some questions come up. So question from Dan. Dan's question was about the hanging knee tuck. So in the hanging knee tuck, the cue that I give is relax the shoulder. So we want to go into what we call a passive hang. And if you are new to UprightLIVE, we do a ton of hanging. So a passive hang is when you relax the shoulder and let everything go completely slack, letting the shoulder blade drift up towards the ear. And so we like to get, what we like to experience is a lot of separation between the ribs and the shoulder blade and shoulder. What Dan is experiencing is when he goes to lift his knees, the shoulders want to tighten, and that's totally normal. It's a protective mechanism. What your body is saying is basically it's scared of doing both of those things at once, relaxing the shoulder and turning on these deep core muscles that could pull the ribs down even further away to make these muscles even more stretched out. And that's okay. Dan, it sounds like your next goal will be to do it fully relaxed, but it's something you're gonna need to work on. So what I would encourage you to work on is going back to the first exercise where you're just lifting one knee at a time and doing your first set at that level, really drilling in the importance of that relaxed shoulder. And then on your second set, I have a sneaky suspicion that you'll be able to do it more relaxed, okay? So every time you do this specific routine, I want you to try that. First set at a lower level, second set at a higher level. And this happens all the time with tons of exercises. For myself, for a lot of clients, we'll always, many times we'll go and do a lower version of the exercise first to prepare the body, to prepare the nervous system, the programming we want to actually execute. And then we'll go and do the full version of the exercise. And then potentially, once we exhaust ourselves, if there's still more work to do, we might even go back to that regressed movement again. So just because you are at your best, you can execute a higher level of an exercise, that does not mean you should neglect still working on the lower levels. Cool. Any other questions up there? Yes, cool. Dan coming with the observations as well. So the rotational arm swings. That was something that we also actually put into another video recently. It was a morning routine video that we put out. I actually do that every single morning. We almost never do spine rotation in our daily lives, okay? Like the only time that I can really think of some big cervical and thoracic rotation is when you're going to look behind you in the car, right? That's about it. So prepping that in the morning, getting your ribs moving, getting the spine moving in that way will make you feel like you can actually take a deep breath in the morning. Everything stiffens up overnight. Even the head starts to drift forward if you're sleeping on a pillow, right? So getting some rotation will restore a lot of the openness in the ribs to give you some nice and good posture. Cool. That's about it. So we'll give you a little sneak peek of what of the other things we're working on next month. We got a little hip opener. We got even some conditioning next month, which is new to UprightLIVE. We've never done any conditioning, so I'm excited about that. And much, much more. So last parting words here for those of you who joined from YouTube. So we do a ton of work on making sure you can move well and move free of restrictions at UprightLIVE. So with that being said, for your spine, if you're here because your spine's a bit stiff and this was calling to you, also keep in mind that having really good, strong, and functional, mobile hips is an integral piece of having a healthy spine. If you can have a really good, strong, mobile spine, but if your hips don't move well, you're gonna find that you have to compensate to do a bunch of movements that your hips should be doing, right? So the importance of having strong, healthy hips for a healthy spine is very apparent. Thanks for joining. If we don't have any other questions, we can. Cool. Gregory, good question. So what's the most effective way to fix constantly externally rotated hips? I'd say that it's a bit of a broad question, but we could talk about tendencies here. So if you're someone who always feels like you are stuck somewhere, anywhere, if we're talking about being stuck, say, an extension for a lot of people, since we're talking about the spine, extension is this position where the back is in a big arch, right? A lot of people get stuck here. So if you ever feel like you're stuck somewhere, our method is typically to exaggerate the other way under very safe and controlled conditions, right? So for example, if we're talking about having kind of being stuck in external rotation of the hip, which is this way, then we could potentially do some exercises that strengthen your internal rotation, and or maybe even, if that is feeling strong, stretch that direction. At the position I was just sitting in, this is a position where we'll stretch into internal rotation. This is the opposite way. So if that is something that you are interested in, Gregory, keyword, internal rotation strength, I would specifically look for the reverse clamshell. That is one of our favorite exercises for internal rotation. And then you can just work on some 90-90 stuff. These are all things we're actually, I believe, working on next month in Upright Live. So you could just join us. And that goes, you know, as we talked about, so a lot of people are dealing with this stuck in extension. Very simple way to work on it is just to, first off, in a safe way, get out of extension, going into a round position in a quadruped. We call this quadruped, hands and knees. All right. So safely getting there first, working on the muscles that would do that, right? The other, another way you could strengthen those muscles is the exact exercise we just did, the hanging knee tuck or potentially the wall march. And a more advanced exercise, you want to zoom out for a sec? A more advanced exercise you could do would be a Jefferson curl, where I think these are in next month's program as well. You would stand, depending on your flexibility level, stand on something. This weight is arbitrary. A lot of people don't even need a weight for this exercise. I would start very, very light if you do, maybe a pound. And you would just work on flexing the spine very, very gently to begin with, and just kind of seeing what it feels like to move into some flexion in the entire spine, all right? And over time, as your spine gets more flexible, you could potentially go a lot deeper. And the goal is to work on feeling what it feels like to flex, and also feeling what it feels like to flex from the front as well. We get so focused on the back, but you should be able to contract these muscles up here to pull you into a deeper stretch, deeper position, so that this flexed position isn't so foreign anymore. What happens for a lot of people who are stuck in extension is at some point you have to flex your spine, but because you don't do it regularly, your body has the potential to freak out. And that's where muscle spasms, back spasms come in. Like my buddy who had to drop everything and get put in a wheelchair in the airport. His body just was not prepared for something. So we like to prepare your body for anything that could be thrown its way. Cool. Any other questions come up? Cool. Well, I think we'll call it a day here. So if you're joining from YouTube, again, thanks for joining. We have a special going on right now where you can join Upright Live for 2 weeks free. Link should be in the description box already. So check it out if you're interested. Cool. All right. For those of you who are already with us at Upright Live, we'll see you next month with the new program. Talk to you soon.